welcome to another episode of Unscripted with Marilyn Morales. Today's guest is someone who I haven't known for a long time. I recently met her in person, and there was just something about her spirit that spoke to me. And as I started to hear more about her, she was in a speaking competition. I was very excited about that. And I said, this is somebody that I want to get to know a little bit more. And for some reason, I knew there was a story inside of her that I needed you guys to listen to and learn about. Well, let me tell you who she is. Her name is Tammy Renee Freeman. Tammy Renee was born in Morristown, New Jersey. And as a single mom, she juggled many roles, from real estate to sales and various other vocations. I love the word vocation because that means it's something that you're led to do versus just a profession. Having overcome traumatic abuse as a child and teenager, Tammy struggled with fear, rejection, self-doubt, and other obstacles that kept her stuck in life. How many of us don't have that same situation still happening to us? Through faith and healing, she faced her fears and is learning to love herself and live in freedom. Tammy's passion for business is as deep as her aspirations of becoming an entrepreneur. While her path of entrepreneurship was initially fraught with setbacks and self-doubt, she remained determined to see her dreams come to fruition. Her resilience helped her to discover that failure is one of the best ways to learn. This reinforced that it's important to try hard, learn from mistakes, and never give up. Let's bring this fantastic woman to the show. Hi, Tammy.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. This is such a pleasure and honor. I'm so excited.
Well, listen, I'm honored that you are here. We haven't known each other long, right? It
No,
was recent.
Oh my gosh. At the speaking competition, I met so many wonderful people, you included, and it was such a blessing.
This doesn't happen to me often that I'm drawn to someone, right? Because in a room full like that, you pick up the energies of all different people. But there was something that kept drawing me back to you. So, and I don't know your full story, right? Let's be transparent. I don't know the full. We've only had a little bit of conversations, but I know that there's something here. I feel it. So I want you to be able to share your experiences with my viewers so that they can learn from your life as well. So
Right.
Share with us. I always like to talk about people who have come. I mentioned you mentioned in your bio about experiences as a child. And a lot of times we carry that over into our adult life, right? Because we haven't processed it, worked through it. You mentioned a little bit about that. Can you share with us some of that?
Sure. Thank you. Unfortunately, I read people's testimonies and everything about how they overcome, and by the time they're, in their late teens, early 20s, they learn their lesson. Well, I wish that was me.
I'm sure a lot of us wish the same thing.
Right. Not so much. It came from abuse. It was sexual, emotional, and as you can imagine, that definitely does something to your self-esteem. There was just so much fear in my childhood, fear of doing anything. And as I got older, and it seemed like the abuse, even older out of the family, getting raped, and then I seemed to be a magnet for a lot of abusive, people that were abusing me and not treating me the way that they should have. And that over time, it not only causes fear, but like self-doubt. And you think, well, gosh, this is it. This is all I'm really going to do for my life. I mean, after everything that happened, and you hear so many things about how you can't do this and you can't do that. And I think I settled in my mind that this was all there was going to be wherever I was. And I didn't really go after anything for a long time. And honestly, there was so much fear of doing it that even if I started to believe that there was more, I was still kind of too afraid to pursue it. So even as I started working in my 20s, it was like hard to be myself, to stand out, to go after anything. So like I said, it was more like I would just do my job, and I didn't aspire too much more, nor think I could do it. because I just, had so many negative thoughts about myself and so many fearful thoughts that if someone said, what are you doing here? Why do you, go to college or do this? I would have been like, you crazy? I can't do that, right? But like now that I look back at it, I would think, oh, why couldn't I? And
Right.
there's people that might think that, and those fear thoughts will come in and say, well, you don't have this and you don't have that, and you're not good enough for this and you're not good enough for that. And they are they're lies. They're lies from the abuse that you got, which of course whoever has been through it knows that it makes you feel like it's your fault and something's wrong with you.
Right.
Or and also, sometimes there's family or friends or people in your life that they had their own issues with fears and discouragement. So because they couldn't do something, if you even look like you want to try or sound like you want to try to do something more with your life, they're like, oh, you better not try that. It's not going to work. It's going to fail. It failed for me. It's going to fail for you. So that set more
The
obstacles.
tone
Right. So
for you.
then,
I want to ask you, I'm sorry to
sure,
interrupt. I just want to ask you, a couple questions just based on exactly what you shared. Number
sure.
one, you said you were like a magnet, right?
Yes.
For people like this. I've heard that a lot, right? I've heard that from people who were abused, that it's like it's not just a person, then it becomes like almost a theme within
Right.
their life where another person, a random person, it starts with a family member, then somebody that you meet in school or somebody that you meet somewhere else also now tries the same thing. Do you
Right.
think that you try to retreat from being out in the forefront, right? Like some children will be more out there, more
Yes.
social. You try to retreat so that people don't see you,
Absolutely.
and maybe that's what they pick up on. Like
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it was that I was abnormally shy. And
shy. Yeah.
I think people, and there's some spiritual stuff behind it too that I don't want to get into right now, but like they sense it, they feel it, they can see like that one that's not speaking up, they feel that person. Sometimes they can tell the sensitivity, or
Yeah.
they know the science because a lot of them created that in others. So they understand what that looks like in children, or young adults, or even adults. So they like focus in on it and like, oh,
So
there's
you
one.
truly are like a magnet, and that's what makes other
Right.
people the same type of magnet. Yeah,
Right. And
I
until
can see that.
you like change your mindset and understand who you are and who you're made to be, and that, you're not going to put up with that anymore. So when you become almost like the hunter, like, oh, I see you, buddy. I don't think so.
Mm.
Well, come on, try
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so laying low in fear, it's being stay out of the radar, they call it, right?
Yes,
Stay out of the
absolutely.
radar, stay out of the vision of other people because you
Right.
try to, not become the target, and that's actually what makes you the target, right? Is
Exactly. So it does the opposite, and it's and unfortunately too, it also silences your voice. And that's one
yes.
of the things I feel like wherever you were challenged the most or attacked the most in your life, that's what part of what you need to use, for your purpose. And I believe that the fact that my voice was silenced, and, I was too afraid to speak up, that's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing now with the speaking and how important it is. Because now I feel like, oh my gosh, I should have done this years ago, right?
Mm,
Oh,
yeah,
the enemy would have shut me up, but nope, I'm out. I'm out there.
yeah. That's it. What's destined for you, right?
Right,
What you came here to do, and
right,
you touch a little bit on the spiritual aspect, and yeah, I believe that. I believe that when you're here for a purpose, things will come at you to try to prevent you from doing that. But we're also
right,
here on a spiritual journey, right?
right.
We're here. We're here on a journey to learn some lessons, and sometimes it's those difficult ones. A lot of times, it's the difficult ones where
Yeah,
we learn the most, right? But
right,
something inside of you was able to fight through that to the point where you are today.
right,
I have a close friend who went through a sort of not as severe abuse as you, but they looked back and they were like, my mother didn't do this or my mother didn't do that. But again, you touched on something. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And as a
right,
parent, if you've experienced abuse, you're trying to prevent that from happening, or failure. Failure is something that we all fear, right? You're trying
right,
to prevent that in your child. So you do the opposite of what you should do and allow them to have these experiences, and you want them, don't do that because this is what happened to me. It's going to happen to you, just like you mentioned, right?
Right.
But
And
that's
I
because
think that,
that person didn't know better.
yes. And I think that even with me in the beginning, I think my fears and everything, I probably I know that I did kind of hinder my son from doing things because I was so
Yeah.
afraid. There was so much fear. And thankfully, later I was like, all right, listen, everything I said, I want you to go do whatever you can, be yourself, and it's just hard because you're just passing along all that until you're healed from all that. And that's why, I want to like shout the message out because I don't want people to repeat that. And that's what happens down the line. It's repeated. And so, one of the things that I want to encourage people to do is to break that off your generational line. Like it stops here. The fear stops here. The abuse stops here. That's it. No more. And we can do that. We can do that.
So tell me, are there some steps that you are able to acknowledge, right? That you have realized? What are
Yeah.
the steps to getting there? Can you
All
share
right.
some?
Shammy wrote that down. None of this. So the biggest one, I think, is just self reflection. Like you have to acknowledge that I have fear in my life and it's stopping me. I mean, for so long, for years, especially when you're coming from abuse, like depending on how you work it out or whatever manifests in you, I was just like anger and drinking and just, living like I wasn't going to live very long. So party hardy, till you die, that kind of thing. And it was
Yeah.
just very self-destructive. But like if there was fear, it seems like everything that triggered me, I would be like, well, this person shouldn't have done that because that, triggered me, or that did this to me, or that did that to me. It's like, you have to get to the point where you're like, okay, let's face the fact that you responded abnormally for that situation. Like got, abnormally angry or upset about something that's very small. So what's the trigger? Why are you getting angry? What are you fearful of? So that's where you have to like really get to reflecting about, okay, why am I upset? And like, what's the worst thing that can happen if I do this thing that they're trying to get me to do? Like, is it, is it going to kill me? So I just had to really think about that, about my reaction to things and how I can try to work it out and not act like a crazy person. I mean, I put the cray back on the day, you know what I'm saying? So, like, for example, I was at work. I was working for a title insurance company, and my boss, I walked into work one day and he has this new hire I didn't even know about. He's like, okay, I need you to train them. Well, immediately I'm like, almost like a temper tantrum. It's ridiculous. When I look back at it, it's embarrassing. But, he was kind of like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
Yeah.
I'm like, looking back at it, it's like, okay, that was a little ridiculous. I mean, sure, maybe it means that I had to put aside my work and take a few minutes. Like, what's the worst thing? Why were you reacting that way, Tammy? So was it just like the fear of not knowing something, like I had to work out in my mind why. And then I had to say, it's not the right reaction and you have to change it. And you have to like recognize when this is coming on. And you really have to face like why you're behaving the way you are and what is the issue. What's the fear?
Right.
And that's the biggest step right there.
So
Why?
first of all, self-acceptance, right? That
Right.
something has happened to you. So acceptance
Right.
of the situation, and then having a self-awareness
Right.
of your own reaction to what is
Right.
actually happening to you.
I have fear, I have trauma, I have to get through it and through just to get into that, like all the abuse and stuff, of course, I had to forgive and go through that healing process. So, it's all a process and you can't expect yourself to be like one day pop up and be like, hey, I feel good. I'm normal.
Yeah. Right.
Not that
Right.
way. But
Healing is continuous, guys. And I
yeah,
want to say that because I talk about my own
right.
journey with grief, right? And with PTSD. It is,
Yeah.
and a lot of what you go through when you go through abuse is PTSD, right?
Right.
post-traumatic stress disorder. So because something significant has happened to you, and
Right.
you get triggered at any point in your life. There were many times where I thought I'm on the other side, I'm good, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be able to handle everything, I'm a tough cookie.
Hmm.
And then something that somebody says just
Right.
throws me right off the deep end, right? Will trigger a memory. The
Right.
cascade of feelings, the dreams, the insomnia, all over again,
Right.
just because of something someone said, right?
Right.
So healing is continuous. And I love what you say about accepting what has happened to you, right? And having
Right.
that awareness
Right.
that I can be triggered. And when I'm triggered, what am I going to do when I get triggered,
Right.
right?
And that's where the big thing. It's like I think for so long I wasn't acknowledging the abuse. Of like I buried it. I'm good, right? I'm strong.
Yeah,
No, I was angry. I was self-destructive. I was
yeah.
acting crazy. So that's where I like once the self-awareness and like the dealing with it came in, then I was able to progress more. I mean, and like you said, it's not like you're never going to be triggered, but then you stop. Okay, why does that upset me? What's the trigger? What's going on? And how can I, act better? And
Process.
I learned how to apologize to people. I had to because my reactions weren't, they don't understand why I'm triggered. They didn't understand what was going on. So I had to learn to, pride to killer. I had to be like, you know what? I apologize. My reaction was wrong, and you just have to go through that for a little while. And the funny thing is, you mentioned the PTSD. I didn't even know I had it until probably
Mhm.
the last 10 years, maybe less. It's like, I didn't realize how
Yeah.
it was just terrible. It was so bad. And I didn't know, like
You
what's
don't know
wrong.
when you're going through it. Again,
Right.
people, if you're going through and you have these symptoms, you've had a traumatic experience and you're
Right.
finding yourself, having difficulty eating or overeating. It could be one or
Yeah.
the opposite, right?
Yep.
For me, it was insomnia. I couldn't sleep. For other people, sleeping too much, right?
Right.
Pictures that are constantly going in your mind and you can't get off of it. It's like a
Mind
constant reel,
racing.
reel,
Yeah.
reel. And when you're going through it, you don't know that that's what's happening to you. You just think
Right.
that, okay, I'm just trying to get through this. I'm trying to process this, my mind is having difficulty with this, but these are actually symptoms of something greater. And sometimes you need help. You need help, right? What that
Yes,
help looks like is going to be different for every person,
exactly.
right? Can you name some of the things that helped you? What were the tools that you used to help Tammy?
Well, my faith, especially, like just the
Mhm.
Lord really helped me through a lot. But again, like going through it, um, self awareness, like I think a lot of stuff was the biggest thing for me was retraining my mind because there's thoughts in our minds. Not every voice is ours. Like we may have had that voice in our head as a child. We got used to it. We thought it was our voice. But all those negative words and evil things speaking lies about us, that's not our voice. And that's the one that you have to learn to shut down. And it felt like it was the hardest thing when I finally started doing that because I mean, even the Lord in the word, it talks about casting down all vain imaginations and taking all your thoughts captive to the obedience of Christ. So what he's saying is all that negative stuff. I never said that about you. God's saying, I didn't say that about you. That's the enemy. I want you to take them captive. And when you hear those lies, I want you to stop them in their tracks. Like immediately when you hear that, when that thought pops in, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. That's a lie. I'm not stupid. I'm not ugly. I'm not to this. I'm not to that. I'm this.
Right.
I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I'm the apple of my father's eye. Like you have to replace it with the truth. So that was like the biggest challenge was my mind because that's where the real battle is. And once I started doing, it's so funny, sometimes I think God's just going like, oh, geez. He's
Guardian
like,
angels going,
yeah, like, no, here we go.
here we
But
go again.
she's at it again. I felt like when I really understood what I had to do with my mind and retraining it, I didn't realize how long and how bad I let these things flood my mind. So it was actually kind of painful at first. I felt like, I'm like, God, I'm never going to be able to stop my thoughts. I'm always having to stop,
Yeah.
And change it and stop and change it and battle the thoughts. And it felt like it was just going to be a forever war, but it's not. And I just want to encourage you guys, it's not. It's like any habit. Once you start doing it, it's like you get stronger, it's automatic. And now before I let those things just flood in and now I catch it. It's like, oh, No, you don't. No, I don't receive that. I don't receive that thought. That's a lie. Shut up. I'm this and I'm
Right.
that. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You
Right.
know?
Say A for effort, A for
Right.
effort, but I got you.
Nice try.
Yeah.
But no. So
Yeah,
that's
take it
the
with
thing.
humor too, people. When you get these negative
You
thoughts, just
have
like
to.
I love how you say that, Tammy, because I do the same thing. It's
Oh,
stop it, replace, stop it, replace it. It's a
right.
habit that you have to learn. It is not easy. It's not going to
No.
happen overnight. Stick to
Mm-mm.
it. Consistency is important, right?
Right.
So it's replace it, replace it, replace it.
Yep.
Is there anything else like for me, meditation, prayer is a form
Oh,
of meditation, right?
yes.
Aromatherapy worked fantastic for me. Doesn't work for everybody, but it does for
Yeah.
me. It's almost like smelling something automatically, changes how you feel, right?
Yeah.
That's why we
Nice smells are
smell
good.
perfume. Something that
Right.
smells good for me. I always use this analogy because it truly speaks to, me and a lot of people. I love chocolate chip cookies, right? So if
Who
I
doesn't?
smell a freshly baked chocolate chip cookie, that changes my mind completely. It changes
It's
my whole
on.
mood.
That's right.
I'm happy, right?
Right.
That is aromatherapy, guys. It's finding a
Yeah.
scent that will transform your emotions and put you in a better place. So that, and if you carry it, and I carry certain oils that I use on myself, right? So that when
Right.
I start feeling this way, take 3 really deep breaths of that scent, and it automatically recenters, right?
Yeah. And
Washing
I
your
I
hands,
agree.
doing a movement like this will take your brain and put you into something else. So there's so many
Right.
tools
Yes,
that we can talk
prayer
about.
definitely. Oh my gosh, definitely prayer. And for me too, sometimes like a lot of the darkness and the dark thoughts, it's like when you're inside and you're just thinking, 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 get up and get out. Take a walk, go outside, go pet an animal, go do something that brings you joy. And that's
Joy.
the best way to just get out of that thought process. You don't want to be, stuck in there. Do something. I love being taking walks outside. I love nature. I like, just doing that, spending time with family, whatever it takes, just don't go near, get out of the habit of being around other people that are either miserable or stuck in their pit, because they don't want you to go out. They want someone to be where they are. You have to get
That's
around
right.
people that are going to bring you up, and that's so important. Who you're around and whose
Yeah, and
voices you have.
that's a balance. Sometimes our friends will
Yeah.
go through things, right? And
Yes.
so they're telling
Yes.
us what they're going through,
Absolutely.
and we're there to support them. But that
Yes.
can't be your only source, right? You need
No.
other people that if you're helping this person through it, that there's somebody else on the other side that's going to uplift you
Right.
and get you out of that. If you're
Right.
empathic like myself, and I believe you are too, right? We happen to take on the emotions of the person who is telling
Right.
us what's going on with them. It's not my situation. It's not for me to take on, but I have a habit of doing that, right? Of
I do
taking on
too.
their pain. I take on
Hmm.
their pain. And then I'm stuck. And then
Right.
they feel better. Oh, thank God. I feel so much better
Yeah.
talking to you. But now
Like,
I'm
oh,
left with
great.
this.
Yeah, yeah, thanks for the extra burden.
Yeah.
But
But
the
it
thing is
it's
that
not yours, right?
right, right, and you have to learn that too. And it's not that you can't be around, like you said, helping people. But I'm talking about the people that don't
Constant.
want to move out of where they are, and they want you to stay in there with them, and you just can't. You can't, because it's just going to bring you back down. And if you work so hard to get out of that, you don't want to go back down to that place. And freedom is beautiful. Freedom, once you follow these steps and you continue to grow, it's like you don't even recognize that who that old person was anymore. It's just a beautiful, amazing thing, and it's doable. You may feel like, whoever is listening, you may feel like you're never going to get out of it. I was there. But if you do these steps every day, if you pray, build a network of support, just train your mind, let failure, which is one of the biggest fears, let just be a tool. Never let it, it's not who you are. You're not a failure. You're just trying something and it didn't work out the way you wanted. So you're like, okay, if that didn't work out that way, I'm going to try it this way. And then, you're just learning. It's a learning tool, and it doesn't define who you are. Rejection by someone, it doesn't define who you are. They're probably going through their own stuff. You
Right.
just keep
I
moving. You
love
keep
that.
moving. That doesn't define who you are. You are beautiful, wonderfully, fearfully made, and whatever voices are telling you you're not, they're liars. Tell them to shut it and get out.
Bye, Felicia.
Goodbye. See ya.
So, Tammy, how do you work with people now to help them break these mindsets that are binding them?
It's interesting that you say that, and I like to help a lot of people, especially with like really going after their goals and dreams and having them, because I didn't have them for so long that like it was almost like, oh, you mean I could do anything, really? So when I'm at work or out and I see people a lot of times at work kind of just stopping themselves. And it makes me sad, especially, people who aren't, beginning their, work life. It's, in the middle, near the end, and they just figure this is it. I'm like, no, absolutely not. What do you want to do? I always talk to them. What's your dreams? What are your goals? What do you enjoy? Talk to me. What's stopping you? Why aren't you doing the thing that you just said that you've always wanted to do? Why aren't you? Let's talk about that, and just seeing, you can see like where they kind of stopped because they figured, sometimes it's like failure, fear of failure, but also like, oh, it's going to take me so long. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. And that's not true. Because
Right.
if I may just talk about this opportunity that I had recently, this was only in October of 2023, right? People,
Okay.
it's never too late. October 2023. I prayed recently before that because I just felt like I missed so many opportunities from, a life of all this stuff we're talking about. And I'm like, God, just give me another chance, another opportunity to do something great, to do something I was meant to do with my life and help others. And a few days later, I'm at the thrift store, as you know the story. And what this man's talking real loud on the phone about publishing a book to someone. And I thought, well, I always wanted to be a published author, right? This is
Right.
cool. So when he was off the phone, he apologized for being loud. And then I said, oh, no problem. But are you a publisher? And of course, that conversation led me to meet Emilio and Daniela of the Co-Author Network. And then within a month, I am writing a chapter in an
There it
anthology,
is.
right?
Behind
And
closed
I
doors,
am
Daniela
now
Roman. Hmm.
an award-winning published author. And
That's right.
then I had another opportunity to be a speaker in a speaking competition. Hello. And
Yeah.
now I'm a speaker. Like this is all within months. Everyone, I'm telling you, the opportunities are there. All you have to do is say yes. Of course, I was scared. I
Right.
was,
Right.
am I going to get it done in
Right.
time? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But, when the Lord opens a door, jump into it. Do it afraid. Do it afraid because guess what? If you ask yourself, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen if I do this? Maybe it won't turn out the way I want. I mean, it's not earth shattering. But
Hmm.
what if I don't do it? What opportunity am I missing? That's the
Right.
thing. And like I said in the speech, like the Cornell University did um, a survey with elderly people at the end of their life. Um, and the thing that they regretted the most was the things that they didn't do in life. And you don't want to
That's
be
right.
there because there is nothing worse than regret. It's
The
just
pain of regret
right.
is terrible. And I will share that that is so impactful, Tammy. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I think that that was important to say.
Yeah.
Uh, some people know my story of being a nurse in New York City when the World Trade Center was hit and the aftermath of that. I was sitting in a room talking with the person that was with me throughout that. And when we talked about how we thought that that was it for us, right? This is it. This is the
Yeah.
end. Potentially, this is
Wow.
the end. We may not get out of here, right? When you
Wow.
think about that, what, and we asked each other, what do you regret? And I
Oh,
said, I regret nothing that I did. I
yeah.
regret what I didn't do. I didn't get to do this. And
Yeah.
before I leave this earth, I want to make sure I do this thing, which for me was getting my bachelor's in nursing. I had started nursing as a very young lady. And then life happens. You get married, you have a family,
Yeah.
and you stop pursuing, right? I got in my RN,
Mhm.
but not my BSN. And I was like, it just didn't make sense to me that I didn't pursue it because I was happy just doing my everyday life, that I didn't have that desire to go on for more. I was happy.
Right.
I was content. I didn't need it. But when that day hit me, I was like, it may seem like nothing to somebody else, but for me, it was an achievable goal that I didn't
Right.
pursue, that I knew that I wanted. And I
Right.
got it. But I said, this is the
No more.
one thing I regret, and I'm not going to regret anymore. I'm going to do what I want to do.
And that's
Mhm.
so funny because one of the things that I wrote down that I was thinking about was don't get too comfortable. And that's another way that I miss opportunities because I was
Yes.
higher than I was before. So I was like, oh, this is good. I'm comfortable
Right.
and everything. But you will miss so many opportunities to go higher. And I know it feels like, oh, well, no, this is good. You think that. You think that,
What's
but
waiting for you behind door number 3,
right,
right?
right.
Can be
This
so
big.
much better. Yes.
This big. Take risks. Take risks. Yes, do it afraid. Yes, and the fear is only a feeling. And that's something I had to realize too. Fear is just a feeling, it's not even real. And that's why God said that He didn't give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of a sound mind. So fear, it messes with your mind. That's why you have to deal with that first. It gives you
Right.
power, love. It means all these things. It means that fear is not real, and you have to just tell it, yeah, I feel you, but I'm going to do it. And at the end of this thing, that feeling's going to be gone, but I'm going to be able to get to that goal that I want. The feeling goes away, just like anger. Anger is a feeling. And we have to make the decision like, okay, am I going to let this, go further, or I'm going to like stop and think about, no. So it's not easy. It takes practice, like we were talking about, but you can do it. And I
Absolutely.
love that you mentioned that. Take risks. Don't stop. Don't say, well, I've hit the pinnacle. You haven't, until the
You
day
haven't.
that
You never know
you've
until you
gone.
try.
Right.
You never
Keep
know until
going.
you try. Don't be comfortable. I tell you, because
Yeah.
comfort led me to stop for many, many years of goal that I
Yeah.
had always wanted. Right. So everybody, I'm going to be sharing Tammy's information. Her email is tammyreneefearless@gmail.com. I absolutely love that. I'll be putting it in there in the comments. If anybody wants to work with Tammy, if you have a connection with Tammy and you want to work with her, reach out and do a discovery call, right? Set
Right.
up a discovery call to see how you guys can help.
Yes.
So the last question that I always ask my guests, and I'm going to ask you,
Let's
is
do
what is
it.
your definition of success?
Well, success is, I think, by definition, when you hit a goal or an aim, you hit that one, that's success. And I think people sometimes feel like, well, I'm not successful because I didn't get my biggest goal. But you know what? The thing is, and I think, again, fear, because we try to think that we have to do everything at once, and it brings that fear back. No, success is when you reach a goal. So, what is one goal that you have for this week? If you hit that, you're successful. Guess what? The next week, you're successful. The next week, celebrate every success because they're all awesome. Because you each one, and then you become more and more the person you're made to be. So celebrate each success, and anytime you hit a goal, you're successful. So
I
I love
love that.
I love
I
that.
love that. You have an opportunity for success every single day. You
Right.
wake up and you do something that makes you feel good. That was success. I
That's
love
right.
that.
That's right. And
Excellent.
and I had to do a little like baby steps to success because I had the overwhelm big time. Baby steps. What can you do this week? What book can you read this week? What can you learn this week? Bad habit can you try to stop this week, this month? Baby
Right.
steps. If you have to, if it, eliminates some of the overwhelm, do it that way, you
Love it.
know?
Love it. Love it. Love it. Tammy, thank you so much for all
Oh,
those golden
thank
nuggets you
you.
shared with us today. They were fantastic. And for my viewers, I will see you next time.
Thank you so much.